Good afternoon. How you doing, Trailblazers? Right on, everyone's got their lunch? Everybody ready for the cooking show? This is going to be the best 20 minutes, I hope, of your entire day, if not for the next 2 days. My name is Gordon Jackson. I'm a Master Solution Engineer for the Heroku team, but today I am your Master Chef. We're going to spend the next 20 minutes cooking with Heroku. So let me, just by a show of hands, where are my Salesforce MVPs? Any MVPs out there? Rock on, sisters, right on. That's what I like to see. How many wannabe MVPs out there? You should all put your hands up. Come on now. All right, where are my Trailhead Rangers out there earning those badges? A lot of Rangers, that's awesome. All right, here's the big question. Where are my Heroku people? Right in the back, thank you, sir. I got that $5 coming. We're going to spend this time talking about Heroku. I know that you folks here have a lot of experience with Salesforce. We're going to show you the other half of the platform, and we're going to do it in the fun way. But before we get started, we have to be ready, because this is a cooking show. So let's go ahead and get started. Salesforce. When I think of Salesforce, I think of the ultimate buffet. I can go to Salesforce and I have pre-created creations that I can put onto my plate. Maybe it's a cheeseburger, some asparagus. Maybe it is declarative, no-code, low-code development using things like the schema builder, process builder, flow builder, big objects, platform events and CDC, right? Collaboration, Salesforce mobile application. All of these creations are available for you at our buffet in Salesforce with Lightning. And I can grab these things as I need to assemble applications very quickly with no code or low code. But you know what, friends? Sometimes you have to make it from scratch. You've got to start with the best of ingredients, and you need a kitchen operated by Salesforce so that you can go ahead and start taking those fresh ingredients, combining them to delicacies like mobile applications, consumer-facing applications, intense processing, enriching or enhancing or consuming your Salesforce data. And we do that in the ultimate kitchen, Heroku. Now, I use 2 appliances in my kitchen, and they're super important to the success of the dishes that I prepare in Heroku. One of them is the CLI. Yes, this is the cooking live interface. You might mistake this with a command line interface, and they look very similar. Okay, Salesforce has one, Heroku has one, and we'll be using this throughout the presentation. Next, we'll use the Heroku Dashboard. This is my command central. This not only gives me a chance to look at the individual dishes that I create, but it also lets me look at the kitchens in which I might be creating these dishes. I have many kitchens in my restaurant. I have many restaurants. So in order for me to see who's cooking what and where, I've got a great dashboard. And we'll be going back and forth between these environments, these appliances that I'll use for my cooking. So the only other thing that we need are fresh ingredients, and nothing but the freshest ingredients here at Salesforce. So the things that we'll need in order to prepare the dish that we'll be serving today. Heroku Dynos. These are the processing engines that will run our application. This is how we'll serve it hot and fresh to 10 people, 10,000 people, 10 million people. The ability to scale your applications simply and easily using the command line or cooking live interface and the dashboard. We'll need Heroku Postgres. We need a database, a commercial grade relational data store for me to manage the information that I'll be putting into my application. We need Heroku Connect because we're going to serve up heaps of fresh Salesforce data. There's no point in having a cooking show if we're not going to use all of our ingredients, is there? So we'll use Papertrail as well, and this is a Heroku add-on. In the same way that you can go to the App Exchange and buy products that you know have been vetted and secure and are designed from the ground up to run on Lightning, you can go to the Heroku Elements Marketplace and get components to help you speed the preparation of your applications. Logging, monitoring, SMS, user management, the things that you would need to build into an application, the things that Salesforce provides in Service Cloud or Sales Cloud or any of our other pre-built buffet items, right? And you can do this quickly and at your fingertips. We'll see this as we prepare the dish. A serving of Lightning data, like I said, it wouldn't be a recipe without Salesforce Lightning in there. And then lastly, our fresh application code, the things that we use and build to deliver these consumer experiences or these high touch experiences on Heroku. So before we get to the recap, we need to go do some cooking. So here's my CLI. This is my command line interface, or my cooking live interface, and then my dashboard. So let's go to the dashboard and take a look at my kitchen. Right now, I've got 4 different kitchens set up. So you can think of these as perhaps 4 different locations, 4 different development teams building specific dishes for your enterprise. I've got one here for TDX19. This is the location that we'll be at here today. And I'm going to go ahead and get started by preparing a cooking area for my dish. I'm going to create a new app here, and it's very simple. I'm going to give this my tasty TDX treats. This is the name of my dish. Every chef names their signature dish. In this case, it's the tasty TDX treats. We'll go ahead and grab a copy of that. And then I have an option of where I'm going to deploy this. Today I'm only going to deploy this in TDX19 here in the United States. I might choose to deploy it in Europe. If I were using Heroku Private Spaces, I have global reach. I can deploy it in Tokyo, in Frankfurt, in Dublin, in Sydney, Australia. So we've got a lot of options. Today we're just going to keep it right here in the good old USA. Don't blink. If you did, you missed it. We now have a nice, clean, fresh application development space. In fact, if I come over here into my CLI, I can do things like start to do the preparation. Now, the first thing that I need to do with my application is add my Postgres database. Okay? So in order for me to do that, I've got to first tell my application where my application is, because I'm connecting it to my cloud-based environment. So I'm just going to tell it that my remote is my tasty TDX treats. Let's just make sure that's what I called it, tasty TDX treats. There we go, and I hit return. So what this is going to do is it's pointing my environment now where I have all of my code at my kitchen, where we're preparing the application. So that's great. So now that we know where my application is and where the kitchen is, I can start using things like Heroku Add-Ons, and this is where I can go directly into the marketplace and create an add-on. In this case, we want Heroku Postgres. We'll hit return. So now it's going to go through some thinking, it's going to find my application, and then it's going to say, hey, you just deployed an application. If you blinked, you missed it. If I go ahead and refresh my screen, take a look at the resources in my application, I can see there I've got a Postgres database. Oh, do you smell that? It's fresh, right out of the oven, it's ready for you. And we can do this all day long. Because these resources are all automated, it's very simple for me to add databases, remove databases, and all of the resources. And we do this on a regular basis as we go through the development process. So we've got a Postgres database. The next thing we need to add is our Papertrail logging. This is a logging tool, and what we need to do is be able to capture application information. Now, sometimes as a developer, you might have to build an entire mechanism for capturing information about your application or about the systems in which your application's running, about the users interacting with your application. Well, Heroku's got this amazing thing called a Logplex, and it's part of the kitchen. It's another appliance. You don't really see it all that often because we have tools and partners that are building tools on top of this. But if you have a modern 21st century kitchen like Heroku, you might have tools like Splunk or Sumo Logic, or means with which you can consume log information and plug that into your overall application architecture. In that way, you can connect your kitchen with our kitchen and get that logging information fresh as it comes off those applications. And if you happen to be 3 guys in a garage, No problem. You can use one of our add-ons, and Papertrail is an amazing partner. So we've added Postgres, we've added Papertrail. Now we need to add Heroku Connect. And this is going to give us the ability to connect to Salesforce data. So let's go ahead and provision this. So we're provisioning Heroku Connect. Heroku Connect is our bi-directional synchronization engine. It's a very powerful appliance in my kitchen. And it gives me 3 amazing capabilities when I'm building applications. The first is it provides direct synchronization of Salesforce data with my Heroku Postgres database. So data that I manage using those buffet dishes, right? Workflow, approvals, all of the declarative interface, everything that I need to do with my data as it moves through my system in Salesforce, I can do that. And then when that data is ready, I can synchronize that automatically into my Postgres database where I can make it available for my application. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what that data looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my Salesforce instance. Let's try that again. Yeah, caps lock's on, thank you. Right on. So my application in Salesforce in Lightning is a very simple application, but this is a commonly repeated use case with customers. We've got functionality and data in Salesforce. I want to expose that to a much larger audience or more complex processing. In this case, my application is very simple. I have some campaigns where I want to go ahead and show the market and my customers that we have special offers. In this case, we're selling some chocolates, right? And in our chocolates in our campaigns are described. Let's see, we'll grab one here. There we go. So we've got a nice package of chocolates. We've got a URL. Notice that my URL is image information in an S3 bucket. Another common thing, customers will store large amounts of data in S3, and we can go ahead and grab that very quickly and easily. Some description that might have to go through some product copyright. Maybe it goes through some workflow, goes through some approvals before that description is allowed to be presented alongside this graphic imagery in the application. In the same way, I have products, and I want to share my products on my application. So I go to one of our partners, perhaps, or I have my internal development team start thinking about this data and building the application to run alongside that Heroku Postgres database, use those Dynos, and deliver a mobile application. That's our tasty treat. So there's the data. Now what we want to do is go back into our application. Let's go check out our resources. Let's see if we've got everything here. That's great. So there's our Heroku Connect, and we're going to go ahead and configure this to connect to and bring in that fresh Salesforce data. So the first thing that we need to do is provide some information. So we'll start the setup. Notice that it's identified the database that we're using in the application, and it's created a schema table, a schema name for me. Very important, I can use multiple instances of Heroku Connect to connect to multiple Salesforce orgs. Maybe you're a customer that has more than one Salesforce instance. This is very common in my world. So we can synchronize data from multiple Salesforce instances into that same Heroku Postgres database where I might stir, I might sprinkle, I might do other things, aggregate, transform, make it available to other applications. Alrighty, there we go. And thank you. I can select my production instance or sandbox or my custom domains. And then the last thing I need to do is authorize. Remember, this is just an application that's connecting to Salesforce. It's a connected app. I provide my credentials, and now I'm ready. Now I can go ahead and go through the manual process of mapping, but they only gave me 20 minutes for this session, right? But it's super easy for me to go ahead and select create a mapping. My connection to Salesforce is going to identify all of the objects in my environment. Let's just say I select account, there it is. And then I go through the manual process of identifying which attributes, which fields do I want to sync into Postgres to make available for my application. In this case, I don't need any account information, but what I do need are those contacts, those stores in my products. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and grab the file that I've already created that tells me what those things are, right? This is my mappings file, and it could be part of my project, right? Part of my, my standby cooking for this particular dish. After I've created it the first time, we can come back and recreate this very easily. So there it is, I upload it, and now it's going to start, this appliance starts working immediately. And what it's doing is it's interrogating Salesforce for the data that I specified in that file. So if you're watching, it's pulling in campaign information and contact information, my interactions, my store information, and lastly, that product information. So there we go. So now I've got all my fresh ingredients, I've connected to Salesforce, okay? And the only other thing that I need to do is get that fresh code, right? And in this case, I'm going to come back to my dashboard. And I'm going to come up here to the Deploy tab, and I'm going to very quickly go ahead and connect this to my GitHub repository. I could do this from the command line locally, but we find that using GitHub and the integration that we have through GitHub allows us to do crazy, amazing things. Like, first off, let's go ahead and grab that source code. I'll connect it. Let me go ahead and enable automatic deploys. This means that now whenever I'm working locally and I make changes to my source code, as I iterate through the development process, as I'm cooking up this great tasty treats dish, I might make changes, and as I make changes, I can check them back into my GitHub repository. Because I've enabled automatic deploys, that will automatically refresh my application in Heroku, so my application always running on the most fresh ingredients. So right now, let's go ahead and deploy that code into Heroku. So my appliance, again, starts whirring away. Notice that it detected very easily, right up front, that it's a Node JavaScript application. The kitchen of the future understands that we write code in a number of different languages, and Heroku supports the 8 most popular web-based languages. So using this, we can very easily identify the code that you're deploying and bring in the right resources. Go ahead and make sure that we grab all of the appropriate dependencies and information needed to make that application live and fresh. And you'll notice green is good. That means we've deployed to Heroku. Let's go ahead and come back to our Cooking Live interface, and let's go ahead and ask Heroku what the PS is. What does my process stack look like? What's running in my Tasty Treats application? So you got to get the right A in there. There we go. Boom, and so it tells me that there's one web dyno up and running. Well, that's good, but I want to throw some oomph out there, right? So I want to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'm going to scale that. I'm going to make it perform better by adding more resources. Again, this is at the tips of my developer's fingers. I can also do this from the command line, so I'm going to issue the scale command. Web is my process, and I'm going to say, let's give that 4 of those engines. It's going to come back. It's going to tell me it's processing, and if I come back to my dashboard, take a look at my resources, give it a refresh, and I can see that I'm running 4 dynos right there. As a developer, I have access to 4 different flavors of server, from very small for standard development to production. It's easy for me to change the size and the class of my server for my application. I just select the one that I want. Yes, I'm going to continue running 4 of these. I confirm it, and boom, shakalaka, I'm running on 4 gigantic boxes. Millions of people can come to the website and get the app. And while we're at it, we should probably take a look at it and see if the app is running. So here's my Nibs chocolate application. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Remember, I've synchronized with Salesforce Data, so I should have my contact information, and if we did everything right, I should be able to log in. And there we go. So remember those campaigns? Well, in our app, we're calling them specials. Every time I click on these, I make a note. Hey, oh, he shared it with Facebook. He's tweeting it. Oh, let's take a look. Oh, they love this one. All of this information's flowing back into Salesforce, where the marketer can take a look at who's clicking on what. And along the way, every time I do something, I'm collecting points here. You'll notice that I've got 114,000 Nibs points. Loyalty, I can drive that kind of behavior. I've got my product information. This shows up as my selections. Very easy for me to see this. The application itself is responsively designed. It's a Node application running in React. So when I scrunch it down, I can look at it on a phone, or I enlarge it, I can look at it on my tablet. So we've gone through the preparation and the serving of an application in 20 minutes, less 6 seconds. Let's recap on what we just did. We created an app in the workspace area in the Heroku Dashboard. We used the command line interface to add add-ins, components that I can use to very quickly build and serve my dish. Heroku Postgres, Heroku Connect, and Papertrail. We have over 150 different add-ons in 24 different categories to help you build applications quickly. We added a heaping helping of Salesforce Data, right? And then lastly, we garnished with fresh application code. Bam, like Emerald says, right? Thank you very much for joining me for the Heroku Cooking Show. I hope you enjoyed it.